It's good. Oh, there we go.
Dave Fowler, how's it going with you?
Very good. You?
Very good as well. You keeping busy?
Yeah. Well, we're here backstage at a venue at the moment.
Where are you right now?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow,
So
traveling like always,
always, absolutely.
always on the road. So last time I spoke with you was in September 2022.
Oh, okay. Yes, I
So
think I remember us talking as well.
yeah, we did an interview in promotion of you coming to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and tonight we're doing the exact same thing.
Perfect. All my answers are the same.
So basically, Australian Pink Floyd just show does not stop because you guys are just constantly touring.
Yeah, I mean, we have a month off here or there, maybe 2 months off. I think the longest we're, other than COVID, which, was obviously a weird break, but, the longest time we ever get is 10 weeks. And that's really rare that we'd ever have 10 weeks off the road. Usually it's kind of like 4 to 6 weeks in between sections. So there are breaks, but, you get home and you recover from jet lag for a week,
Yeah.
and then you see family and friends and catch up on a few bits, and then there's chores, bits of maintenance on the house, blah 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 blah. And before you know it, you're rushing around to do things before you're going back out on tour again, and it's gone.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting though. It's like you guys coming back, like let's say Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and then St. John's or Newfoundland, and that's unbelievable coming back to the east coast of Canada. So it's like it's kind of the go-to place to come to now.
we're there every year. I mean, we've been there every year that we've toured North America that I remember. We've done all the Quebec region, and we've done some other areas, to Toronto, and then we try and get over towards sort of Nova Scotia and whatever when we can. That might not be every year, but it might be every 2 years or so. We try and get a show over that way, and we did Vancouver this year as well, which is my first time ever doing Vancouver. I believe the last time before that was 2004. So we certainly haven't saturated over that side of the country, but that gig went well, and it's always good. You got to maintain the current areas and try and push into new areas, and with that comes more and more and more gigs, which means more and more time away and less time at home.
Right, to mow the lawn, etc., and
Yeah,
do the shingles on the roof.
indeed.
Yeah. So it's like that September 20th, 2024. You guys are playing Scotiabank Centre once again. So it's like
Yep.
2 years now since you guys come over. And
Yeah.
do you find something different coming to Canada at least? That different type of crowd, perhaps, or
Yeah, I mean the Canadians. I would say, with the exception of the UK, because obviously Pink Floyd are a British band, and started there, and there's a lot of fanatical Pink Floyd fans in the UK. I'd say Canada has the second most appreciative set of audiences. Where they really know the nuances of the songs, and you play something obscure and old, and they'll know it just as well as. Yeah, whereas the United States, don't get me wrong, they've got some fanatical Pink Floyd fans, but the majority don't know anything before Dark Side of the Moon, or if they do, it will be something like One of These Days or Echoes, where it's been done live, and there's live versions that they know of those songs. But the America in general, they weren't buying Saucer Full of Secrets and Atom Heart Mother in any kind of. They certainly weren't number one albums, whereas in the UK, those albums were huge, and I think they were big in Canada. So when we come to Canada, it's like the hybrid mix of an American and a British audience. It's all the appreciation of a British audience, but with the some of the loudness and the letting they're enjoying it of American audience, which is wonderful. They are, I would say, literally one of the best audiences on the planet in Canada. We love playing there for that reason.
it could be back in the day also that the radio stations played it differently. Like let's say the promoters got the albums to certain radio stations in Canada to push this stuff even more.
But yeah, I just don't think Pink Floyd were being, as you say, they weren't being pushed by the record company. I mean, Nick Mason said himself, the reason Dark Side suddenly did well in America is because the guy at the label listened to it and went, "This is good. We need to get behind this," and they pushed it. Whereas the previous albums, they were just releasing just because they were, they'd got a deal with the UK company and they had to release them. But they certainly weren't listening to it. Go, "Oh, this is great. We need to get behind this." In America, they weren't doing that. Whereas I think in Canada, they were. They were pushing it in the same way as it was pushed in the UK. And albums like Sauce Full of Secrets and Medal, did well. And it's. I think there's a lot more connection between the UK and Canada, obviously being under the same monarchy, and so it's where people tend to do things in a certain way. There's a lot of British humour and Canadian humour, vice versa, that comes to Britain, and British comedy shows that go to Canada that don't necessarily translate to America, even though Canada and America are neighbours. So I think the same works with music, and that's lucky for us because, yeah, we can play a song like Arnold Lane or See Emily Play or something like that in Canada and get a big applause for it. Whereas in America, we do it and 10 or 15% of the audience know it and the rest go, "Oh, what's this?" And it's only short. It's only a couple of minutes. They'll still clap and they'll still enjoy it. But it doesn't have the, "Oh, yeah, we're playing this one," the excitement that you get from a alien audience when we do that kind of material.
And don't forget how big the other material is, after Dark Side of the Moon, it starts getting super huge. So it's all.
It does, although Animals stuff particularly when we've done Dogs, Dogs has gone down brilliant. It's a 17-minute song, I'm sure you know it. And that goes down really well all around Europe and Canada as well. And we've done it in America, and you see people going off to the bar. They're not. And I never forget a guy coming up to us in San Diego, but it wasn't us, came up to one of the guitar techs in the break, and we'd finished the first half with Dogs, which was going down really well as an epic ending everywhere else. Came up and said, "Oh, I didn't know that last track. Why don't you just play Pink Floyd?" And it's like, "Well, it is Pink Floyd." "Well, not anything I've heard," and kind of walked up, and you could see people. And we ended up swapping out that song, I think, in quite a few shows in the United States, because people just didn't seem into the kind of the deeper cuts, when we've done Careful With That Axe, Eugene, and Cymbeline and songs like that, in again, Canada, UK, brilliant, and United States.
So, let's say Animals to me is one of the best Pink Floyd albums there is, and I think we already discussed this in our last interview, how good the album is. How popular is it in your guys' eyes, like when you guys play it?
I would say reaction-wise, and in terms of the way we look at this, the big four, there's Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, Animals, and The Wall. And I would say in order of popularity, that goes Dark Side, The Wall, Wish You Were Here, and Animals. That doesn't mean that Animals is a bad album or it's a fantastic album, and I absolutely love it. But compared to when you're comparing it to the popularity of Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall, of course it's going to come forth because it's kind of quirky. It's got that sort of the Animal Farm theme, and it's got Pigs on the Wing split into two bits, the beginning and ending, which doesn't necessarily tie into the rest of the album in the same way that the main three. So I mean, it is kind of three core songs, all of which are long and take you on a journey. And what I find talking with people sort of outside the band is a lot of people like one or two of the songs on Animals, but not all of it. Okay. They'll go, "Oh, I love Sheep, it's amazing, and I love Pigs, but I'm not into Dogs." Or they'll say, "Oh, Dogs is a masterpiece, but I can't stand Pigs." And they'll have quite there'll be more polarizing views about Animals, and also the production, because it was the first one they did at Brick Row when they built their own studio. And so some of the production on it is not as slick as the Abbey Road production of the previous two, and it's not as slick as the kind of the Bob Ezrin style production in on the wall that was done in sort of over 78, 79. So I can understand why it's fourth, but you've got to do something from it. Pigs unanimously just goes down as one of the best songs in the set when we do it. Sheep goes down well and it's exciting, but Pigs is definitely the one that always gets the crowd moving. But I think if we did Pigs and Sheep, I think there'd be some people that would get a bit bored of that in the way that I don't think they would if we did more stuff from Wish You Were Here or more stuff from The Wall. It's a weird one. The Wall's got a lot more variation as well. With The Wall, you can do Hey You, Comfortably Numb, Run Like Hell. You can do Another Brick in the Wall, part 1 and 2, and do In the Flesh and The Thin Ice, and you could do Mother, all in the same set. And they're all such different vibes and flavours. And that would seem less extreme somehow than doing both Pigs and Sheep in the same set, which it doesn't really make sense on paper. But when you're a Floyd fan, when you stood on stage and played the songs, it's just a difficult one. And I think everyone has a lot of love for Animals. It's up there, but we want to please our crowd. The last thing we want to do, let's put it this way: we're probably not going to be doing an Animals tour where we play the whole album in a way that we definitely do that with Dark Side. We did it last year, and next year we're doing the whole of Wish You Were Here as part of the set for the 50th anniversary. So I don't think we'll be doing a 50th anniversary Animals where we play the whole thing, because I think it would probably work in the UK, a bit in Europe, and would just be I wouldn't say a disaster, but it wouldn't go down as well in the United States but I mean, I love it. It's exciting, and I like the grittiness of the production. It's not as slick, and it's not got all the female backing vocals, and it just sounds like it's almost like their attempt at doing a punk prog album. It's got like punk style production with prog style music, and for that it's beautiful, but it definitely stands out as different from the others. Which
makes it special, because it's like any album that does get debate on this that much. I mean, it's cool.
I mean that's it. Definitely, you're right in that respect. I mean, I've always said about music and bands that really the ones that people really love or really hate, they're more important bands than the ones that everyone goes, oh yeah, they're pretty good. When Nirvana came along, there were as many people that hated them as loved them. There were people that were like, this is awful. The guy can barely play guitar. Listen to his voice. He's just screaming and shouting. Everything's just so full on. There were so many people that were against Nirvana and hated them with a passion, as well as people that just thought they were the best thing ever. And I think you don't really get that polarization unless you're doing something that's unique or great in some way, or you've broken a mold. And from that point of view, I think Animals definitely did break the mold for them. But then with hindsight, we're now sort of 50 years on from those albums. I think with hindsight, they all kind of get merged into one, and you just remember them as a collection of albums rather than it coming out at the time, and it's exciting, and you're listening to it the first time. I wasn't there. I wasn't alive when that happened. So it was, I think in the grand scheme of things, now when you look back on it, people go, oh yeah, Animals was good, but it's an afterthought compared to Dark Side and Wish You Were Here. Obviously not for us, because we're immersed in, and it's difficult for me I'm so immersed in the Pink Floyd world. It's my job. I play 130 something shows a year. playing Pink Floyd, and we hear this stuff all the time. We speak to fans all over the place that like all different music and do whatever, and obviously everyone in the band to some degree, and even a lot of the crew are kind of really big Pink Floyd fans that have favourites that are deep cuts and whatever, which has no relevance to the general public at all because we're in this world. So yeah, I don't know how much of anything I've said is even fair because it's just what I've observed on the road and over years of doing it. But it's so unique that it stands out, and it is absolutely beautiful. But it certainly, I mean, you can tell it doesn't have. Just look at the album sales for what it is at the time. I mean, Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall are the two biggest selling albums. I think Wish You Were Here is a third behind it, you know. But Dark Side and The Wall were just, I mean, they're both in the top 10 biggest selling albums of all time, with Dark Side being number 3, and last time I checked, The Wall was either 9 or 10, depending on whether you count compilation albums and other things like that in the top selling albums of all time. But I think with, you know, original albums that are released, they I think they're definitely in the top 10, those two, and there's a reason for that because they're fabulous.
Dave, let's on YouTube now. Top 10 Tuesday.
We stream it every week on our YouTube channel. We can't stream it on Facebook anymore because of copyright reasons.
Okay.
So, but we always put the shout out every Tuesday, and it's 8 p.m. UK time, which I think for you over there, 5 hours different, will be 3 p.m. every Tuesday. It goes out. People vote. They get their top 10 of the videos, and really it's like a social club for our fans. People chat to each other, and I'll tell you what, the beautiful thing about that is they have meetups. They pick gigs like, oh, they're doing 2 nights, for example, this year, 2 nights in Birmingham. You know, a load of people are meeting up there. There was some people in America that met at a particular gig. I think it was the Dallas gig, and come along, and there's little sort of memes and funny things that they have. There's a guy in one of our old Comfortably Numb videos that when it was saying, you know, your hands felt just like 2 balloons, and this guy kind of does this balloon thing like that, and he got known as Balloon Man, and every time it was come up, you know, they go, oh, Balloon Man's coming up in a minute, and then that became the Balloon Man meme that went around the top 10 Tuesdays. And now certain people who are diehard fans bring along balloons to that point, so they start holding up and wave, and you can look round and see who in the room knows about Balloon Man and is in on the top 10 Tuesday thing. And it's still great. Still 2 of the shows in America so far, you know, the United States ones that are just like, yep, we've had 2 lots of people. And I will always break the 4th wall and get my phone out on stage and take a picture or a little video of someone who's doing the Balloon Man balloons and put it up in the fan group for the fans. So it becomes that kind of back and forward, really nice interaction between all of us for between the fans and the band members and whatever. It's a nice way of us connecting on those Tuesdays. So yeah, every week without fail. I've never missed a week streaming that out.
And they're on YouTube.
They're on YouTube, yes. So YouTube has the copyright covered. So Pink Floyd basically have a deal with YouTube, as a lot of them do, to pay royalties when people do covers and whatever. Whereas Facebook have not negotiated that well with YouTube and some other platforms. So they just, I mean, if we try and put up anything with Pink Floyd music on Facebook, it just gets taken down.
Right.
So we don't have anything of us playing any music on our Facebook page, which is kind of annoying. But you know, that's the. So we kind of try and drive everyone from Facebook to YouTube, but then of course Facebook don't like giving organic reach to posts that mention YouTube because it's taking a. So it's always a fight to try and get it. But you know, from my point of view, YouTube is the place to be for actually seeing what we do live and everything. It's the place where most people that have not seen us before discover us and then come to gigs and buy tickets. And when we ask, "Oh, it's your first year. Where did you hear that song?" oh, I saw you on YouTube and thought it was brilliant. And I followed the link in the
Yeah.
video and bought some tickets. And that's yeah, that's, and we have way more views on YouTube than we've got subscribers because, yeah, we're not the kind of YouTubers that are out there at the end of every video. Hey, like and subscribe and leave us a comment and blah, 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 and join us on Patreon, all the things that YouTubers say. It's, we're getting millions and millions of views on videos and, and not the subscriber count to match the actual, what we're achieving. But, it's one of those things. We're still getting there. People are buying tickets. That's all that matters.
Also, for the top 10 Tuesday, how long do they stay on YouTube?
So, I mean, 10 Pink Floyd songs if they're short Floyd songs, that can be, can basically is anything between like an hour and 40 minutes, depending on what they vote for.
Right.
And, a lot of people stay on for the entirety, but some people dip in and out, watch a couple of songs, say hello to some people and leave. It's a bit like a virtual pub. People just pop in and out and they have a social and they ask about their lives. I mean, the chat is just constantly streaming. They all know each other and are like friends and how's this? Oh, so and so had an operation. I mean, it was really sad a few weeks ago. We had one of our top 10 Tuesday lot died suddenly. We didn't realise that they were died. They didn't realise that he had anything wrong with him, and then he died. And then we dedicated the whole show to him, and that was lovely. So many people being there, and it's the only time that I've engineered a vote that his favourite song was coming back to life. So we made sure that was number one, and text came up saying, this is in his honour and whatever. So I reprogrammed that show a little bit to fake the number one for the week. But to be honest, I don't think I would have had to have faked it. I think enough people were voting that way anyway. But I just added like 10,000 votes to it to make sure that it would never. Not that we get that many votes, but it just made sure that it never it wouldn't have been knocked off by even the most zealous of bots, And so there's a real community, and I love that. And
also with the Canadian shows, are we going to see stuff on YouTube from the Canadian shows?
So I will put bits and pieces up on YouTube. Funnily enough, the thing I'm working on at the moment is I filmed last year in the UK tour. I filmed the whole of us doing the whole of Dark Side. And I've got basically we did most of the filming in Glasgow, and then I filled in some close-up shots because we did 2 nights in Birmingham, and because it's the same venue, I could get a friend of mine who's a great camera guy in, and he could film it from one side of the stage, and then the next night do it from the other side of the stage, and I gave him scripts of what I wanted doing, and then Glasgow was all the long shot stuff. And we've taken the audio. I've got the multi-track audio from Glasgow, and I pretty much just had that signed off by Steve. I worked on that earlier this year, but he's listened to it and given a few bits of notes, but there's not a lot to fix on that. So that will be out soon. Basically, us doing the whole of Dark Side, start to finish, with a promo. And I also want to get some of us filmed as well, talking about Dark Side and what it means to us as an album and whatever, to kind of fit into it. So that should be quite a nice, by the time that's bulked out, that'll be like a good 50-minute video that I think will be really nice for fans. They'll be able to see us doing the whole album plus little bits of us talking about it. And and then we'll see what I film for what I'm going to film later on in the year for individual songs. I mean, this year isn't an album year, so it won't be songs all the way through, but there'll definitely be some promos that I'll get out of it. And then next year, of course, we're doing Wish You Were Here, so I'm bound to film that. But everything's kind of like a 6 or 7 months,
right?
Out. So I filmed at the end of last year, and realistically, it's going to be 10 months after it will be out in October from when we did it. But yeah, no, I'm always filming content. The problem is I'm a real production freak, and I've got some beautiful Blackmagic sort of 6K and 12K sort of like cinema cameras, Hollywood level sort of cinema cameras, and I have a recording setup that's absolutely beautiful at home. I've got sort of like SSL desks and loads of outboard and all sorts of stuff that's nice for audio production. So I'm not really the sort of person that likes whacking a camera up and just getting something raw off the camera and go, there you go, there's your, and then with the fact that we can't put any of that stuff on Facebook and Instagram and whatever, that's the kind of place where a quick 2-minute clip or something, and it can be filmed on a phone and it's a bit throwaway. That works on there. I feel when we put stuff up on YouTube, because the audio quality is so good on there and they have it in 4K and all of that, that I only want to put stuff on YouTube that's that looks like it's been produced by 30 people and a massive film crew, which in reality is just me with my 5 cameras, and I get my mate in to do some stuff. But it works out well. It works out well. They're not crap cameras, which is why it looks so good.
Company, very good company. I use DaVinci Resolve myself.
Oh yeah, so you're a DaVinci Resolve fan. Yeah, I mean I'm a massive Blackmagic fan. I've got 6. I've got one of the original production 4Ks. I've got 4 6K cameras, and I've got an Ursa 12K as well. And I've got a whole host of lenses, and I take them round in the back of my car on the UK and put them up in big venues. And then, and I will, the truck drivers, funny enough, I don't know whether it's a UK thing or it's a worldwide thing, but a lot of the times where you get cameras at gigs or whatever, I found out through when I first started this band that a lot of the time truck drivers are kind of given a bit of extra money to do the live camera operations because they know everyone in the band and they know the crew. If someone says, "I'll point the camera at Chris, he's about to sing," they'll know who Chris is. Whereas if you get local crews in that don't know who the people are in the band or the songs or any of that, So actually, I've on a couple of times, I've ended up saying to like Daz or someone else, one of our truck drivers, I'll give you the list of the songs and say, during the verse, film Chris, during the solo, point it there, blah, blah. And then I say to him, if I've missed anything out, just use your intuition. And you get a couple of nights of a truck driver, man, they get great footage. You put it on a tripod, they're moving it round. It's just find your shot, stick with it, move it when it's the next bit. And it's wonderful. You can make some really professional looking videos and obviously nowadays with technology we can record all the gigs in multi-track. We have 64 channels of stuff coming in, so I try and multi-track every single show if I can. It's
and you have to. There's good stuff to document.
Absolutely, and all of that stuff really came into play in the pandemic, which is where we started Top Gen Tuesday. I was like, well, if we can't gig, we've still got to be reminding people we exist and getting them excited for when we come back. And it was like, well, let's do this thing and vote, and I'm going to find all my old video footage and all the old multi-track and I'll sync things up. I mean, there were times where I have a video from one gig and I had a multi-track from another, and I just went through and made a song and stretched the video from one and used the audio from another just to give the fans content for over that time. And it worked beautifully, doing that. But I think nowadays, we've upped our game a bit, and I think all the output looks great.
Dave Fowler, you're like not just playing some music, now you're producing stuff, so that's awesome too. And
I do that, and all the animations on the screen as well. I try and get all them. That's all my I love animating.
Incredible.
I'm a computer geek more than I'm a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, September 20th, 2024, you're coming to Scotiabank Centre, Halifax. That's going to be awesome, and the people in Halifax are going to love it. Nova Scotia.
Yeah, it will be a wonderful gig. I mean, as we've discussed there, it's, there's all the lasers, there's the lights. The guys that do that are absolute geniuses. I do my best with the animations on the circle screen. I'm really into that. And there's loads of new stuff for this year, which looks great. And of course, we're playing classic Pink Floyd music in the way that we do. We try and keep it as accurate as possible and the feel of it as perfect as possible. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful. Yeah, so it's a wonderful show to come and see if you're a Pink Floyd fan, even if I do say so myself. I'm actually jealous of the audience members because I'd love to be there watching it. I'd love to have a night off and be able to watch the show again. But, that's not my gig, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, you can't. So,
no.
But it's like that. You guys have a great tour. It's like that. Coming back.
Will you be there for the gig?
Excuse me?
Will you be there at the gig?
I shall try to be at the gig, yes.
Wicked. Well, I'll see you there then.
I will see you there. All right.
Cheers, mate. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
You have a good evening and have a great tour.
Cheers, mate. See you later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.